If you never were pushing yourself, you would never experience imposter syndrome. Because it is true. It is the moments where you've really stepped out of your comfort zone, that you're trying something new, that you're feeling that. Okay, I was fangirling for sure through that one.
Yeah. Yes, you
And
were.
I have to say
With
why.
good reason.
Yeah, with good reason. And I mean, I love everybody we chat with, and I think that that's so important to say. And I feel like this podcast is already changing my life, and I hope it's helping to be reflective for other people also. But I want to make sure I preface this that when we even came up with the concept of what this podcast was, it was truly personal for me because I have made some really big pivots in my life. And I think it's this whole reason, the savoir-faire of the whole thing is that I wanted to build a voice to something that I wish I had had to listen to in the pivotal moments where I was very unsure of myself, because I wasn't sure I had made the right choices, even though I thought I would. I had so much doubt. I didn't know. Andrea, I happened to be at, it was a YPO women's only event, and there were different speakers, and she was like a big part of it. And I'm sure we all have these moments in their lives, but I truly mean it. Remember sitting there where I was at a circular table with some incredible women that are just knock your socks off, amazing people. And I had my book, and sometimes you like listen to different presentations, you're not really ready for it, and you're like, yeah, this will be great. And she just started speaking, and I still even remember opening my book, taking out my pen, and just writing and writing, because everything she was saying at the time, it just felt like something I needed to hear. And like there are those people in your lives. And so that's who she was for me at that point in time. She really helped me without even, like, I think at the end I said thank you, but like, I mean, I didn't really know her. She was just a very impactful speaker. So I want to share that in a very vulnerable way by also sharing that there are points in my life that I was very unsure about what to do. And I want to bring voice to that and normalize that. That there are times when we can be incredibly confident with what we're doing, and also times where we're full of self doubt. And like she said, maybe it's that imposter syndrome because you're actually pushing yourself without realizing that that's actually what you're doing, and you're actually kind of unsure.
That really resonated with me when she said that, where about the imposter syndrome, because it always makes me feel small that I'm like even thinking that way. I think, oh, confident people wouldn't think like that, but that's not necessarily the case.
And I loved how she said if you never were pushing yourself, you would never experience imposter syndrome. Because, like, man, I think that really resonated also. Because it is true. It is the moments where you've really stepped out of your comfort zone, that you're trying something new, that you're feeling that. Do you think there's a range of imposter syndrome, though?
Maybe not the way you're thinking it, but some days I wake up and I'm like, I've got this. I know what I'm
Mhm.
doing. And then like 8:05, I'm like, oh my God, I don't, I have no idea what's happening right now. And so I don't know if that's just confidence in general or like imposter syndrome because I didn't have a traditional like training for this stuff that I'm like, and that's also what it was going to be my question is like, do people who are trained properly, like business school, MBA, like do all the things, do they still have imposter syndrome or do they have less of it because they're sort of trained so strategically for it, or lawyers or whoever, right? Like, I'm curious. I just feel like I have it a lot because I've sort of manifested my job.
Ooh, so does it come in manifesting because it's like, I want something else? So is imposter syndrome, do you think, the same as like fake it till you make it?
But I think it's the opposite side of it because fake it till you make it is a confidence where you're like, well, I can just fake it till I make it and I'm good. Like you feel good in the unknown. You're okay with it. Then at 8:05, you're like, uh-oh. Like I had this happen to me last week where I was like, I've been doing this a while. I know like all like I don't know everything, but I have systems in place and an email came through and I was like, I have no idea. I have no idea how to handle that situation.
Isn't that common? Like, don't we?
Is it common? I don't know.
Because there's lots of times in my mind that I'm like, I don't really know, but this is what I think. And based on whatever experience, this is what I would respond with, sometimes trying to be more confident. But you just made me think like, wait, but isn't that normal?
I think for me, the imposter syndrome comes out more when I'm like, why didn't I think of that? I built a business and it's supposed to be perfect because people come to me because I can do something for them. And then I realize I've totally missed something about it that I should already have. I forget where I read this morning and it really helped me, but it was like that this is the iteration of your business today. 5 years ago, I didn't know that, right? Like it's a different iteration and that's okay. That I'm constantly trying to move it forward. But I have that perfection, like, well, I should have known. That's my imposter syndrome. I should have known.
Isn't that, I feel like I'm going to misquote this, but I think it was Oprah, and someone was asking her, how did she do everything that she did in life? Because she really has done a lot. And her answer was, because I knew what I wanted. And so
Mm,
many people move through life and don't really understand what they want. So they're not going to get what they don't want, or something like that. Like, this is not a direct quote,
no, no.
but that's pretty impactful. Like, do you know what you want?
I was going to ask you the same thing.
I want this podcast to be great. I want
Well,
lots of listeners, but I also want this to be something that is the real conversation that has a platform today that I don't think has today. That we are solving for something that is speaking to many people that says, yes, this helped me reframe, think, validate, feel comfort in, build community around. I want the growth of this for the right thing, which is to be able to contribute to something, which we've talked about before,
yep.
but to really feel like, sometimes I need Heather and Sarah. I want to be that for other people. And I hope we are. Do you want the same?
Yes. It's less about the numbers and the build, like, we talk about it all the time in podcasting. It's like you have to build for this and this is how you do things on YouTube and this is where your audience is. But like actually thoughtfully crafting what you're solving for with your show was like more impactful. Like that was a layer I think I leave on the table because so many people are like, how many connections do you have on LinkedIn? What is your YouTube channel? Like they go to metrics. And some of them are vanity metrics. They have nothing to do with, who you're impacting with the conversation. And to be honest, I never thought really I would be able to impact people with a conversation, but I see the value that you're bringing to do it.
Well, I think we're both bringing to it.
Well,
And I
it's
think
fun to be
also,
along on the ride, like to talk things through and have this conversation. It's been interesting already, and it's just early days, right?
yeah, for sure. I don't know. I think, and then layering on that, like, what do I want? I also want the ability to have impact in leadership, in business, to help elevate people's voices. And that can generate more revenue, build efficiencies, create operational alignment, better satisfaction in work, new products being released. I think that's important. And maybe I haven't made a clear enough line between what this podcast does and how that can help in business. But I think there is an absolute distinct parallel here, because when we have a better understanding of how we can come to what we're doing and we understand why we're doing it, what our motivation is, that transcends into business beautifully. And I think those are also the pieces. I think, I mean, we're all learning in terms of leaders, but I've led lots of people now and have had different conversations. And I think sometimes it's not how many people followed me or liked me or clicked on me. It's just, how real was that conversation? And then how did that impact your life? Speaking of real, my dog is about hi, Lenny, who let you down here? Okay, we have to edit that out because, oh, we can't see him. Okay, good. Sorry.
That's okay. I keep muting mine because I'm like, I know Frank's going to walk through the door any minute and they're all going to go crazy.
Anyways, I forget what we were talking about.
Well, the impact that you want to have with the podcast and not like the numbers and things like that, but more being a resource for people, right? That you didn't have or we didn't have. But also when she talked about like conversation and communication and all of that, like, I don't know, I thought that was an interesting part of the conversation. Was there anything you didn't ask her that you wanted to in the midst of your fangirling?
I feel like I was really fangirling there, yeah.
It was very genuine though, right?
No, it absolutely is genuine, like, she is that was so cool. I think I wanted to ask her the downside of it, like, have you ever coached someone and it went really wrong? Because she's so confident and it's all about building confidence. I think I wished I'd asked her, like, "Tell me one when it just didn't work." The underside of it all. I bet she'd have a great story. I wonder if she'd tell it or not.
Yeah, she probably does. Because sometimes I would suspect, I'm not a coach, but, like, people aren't ready. They think they're ready, but then they're not ready, right, to hear what has to be said.
Mhm. And talking about, like, looping back into business, I actually think that's the same conversation when you're facilitating a meeting and we're trying to plan or solve for some kind of issue, right? And we need to make a change, new product feature or better alignment with an ICP. Like there's some problem that we're all meeting as a group to talk about. You have to kind of be ready to talk about that and to be able to growth and think beyond what it is currently in the room and how does this actually link into the revenue target that you want to make a year from now or 5 years from now. And I think that's important, and I appreciate that she's getting hired by very successful leaders. That makes me feel good about the state of business, that kind of characteristic is now something that we're building in top leaders, which hopefully means that they're mentoring, that's trickling down in organizations. These truer conversations about understanding what is it that you want, how do you articulate that, and that has meaning and power that will help you in your careers. Now, one thing she did say that I didn't really push back on, and I probably should have, is, and we chatted a little bit about it, which is something I had to learn when I was younger. Sometimes the doer, the one who is always available, can always answer the question, always has the solution, actually doesn't get the promotion. They're actually ones that can sometimes get stuck under some leaders who love that they can do everything for the leader and they don't actually get the promotion. And it's actually somebody else that's not as good at those things because it's almost like they can be sacrificed. So the really great person gets stuck in their role and the person who's not so great gets moved ahead. I don't know. Have you kind of witnessed that kind of thing before?
So, not in that respect, because I, again, don't really move around up the corporate ladder, but I, early on in my business, was like, I'll be everything to everybody and I'll always respond to the text messages and I'll solve problems on the weekends. And I like doing stuff like that. And I have a life that affords me to work kind of whenever, because again, I don't have kids and stuff like that. But I got to a point now where I'm like, is that the only value that I bring? That I'm the one who will do all the things when everybody else won't, like after hours, weekends, things like that, and hustle. And then I had like an existential crisis about it, where I'm like, actually, do I bring more value than that? Just being the person who can put out a fire on a weekend. Like I still think about it often
Yeah, there
because
is a
as
shift.
I try to scale, I don't have a team that's willing to do all that, nor would I ever ask them to.
Mhm. One thing I did like though that she did offer as a really good tip, and I hope that everybody took that away, was thinking about your boss's boss and thinking through how can you help ask a really good question for your boss's boss to think about. And I was like, yes, that's the way. I want to add to that. That's the way you move out from under being the person who is always answering the emails and is always able to answer the questions, is when you start asking or thinking beyond what is the immediate need, and that not only the one leader in the room hears you, but your leader's leader hears you, and you're asking such critical conversation, or you're asking such critical questions that helps them be reflective. Now you're so valuable that you might get pulled up from a different leader, not necessarily the one you have, and you get out of that just being the solution provider for one.
So cool.
I know, I feel like there were so many great tips in that talk. Well, thanks for the time today.
Yeah, absolutely.